All right, welcome everyone. My name is Will Moss. I am going to be your host and your moderator for this evening or this afternoon's event with GSK in partnership with my company, HBCU CONNECT. So we are super happy and excited to have you all here as all of our candidates, and we're also excited to have the GSK team here as well. So as we start these events, one of the first things I like to do is set the stage and set expectations. So with that, let me go over our agenda for the event here with GSK. So quickly, to get started, I will do a quick welcome and talk a little bit about myself and HBCU CONNECT, our partnership with GSK, and the opportunity for you as our candidates that have joined us for our event this evening. These are going to be real opportunities with GSK, so make sure you take notes, pay attention, and ask questions in the chat. Like I said, feel free to use the chat to network. I'm also going to encourage the GSK folks to keep an eye on the chat as well, and network with our candidates so that they know that this is a live and interactive event. All right, so after the welcome, I am then going to introduce our keynote speaker, who's going to be Deborah Rutherford on the GSK team. After Deborah gives the keynote, I will start to introduce the GSK team members who have volunteered their time to be panelists to not only share the opportunities at GSK and talk about what it is like to work at GSK, but also to share a little bit about their background, which I think you will find very interesting. All right, so I'll introduce each of our GSK team members one by one. You'll get to know them a little bit better. Some of them have some slides to present as well to talk about what they do and some of the opportunities available. And then we will go into a live panel discussion. So the cool thing about the live panel discussion, whereas we used to do these events prior to COVID in person, and we would have the presentation of the company, we would have the presentation of the team members and the teams that they represent, and then we would have networking sessions. So while we can't do that as well in a virtual environment, we do have this opportunity for you to ask questions in our panel discussion section in our live Q&A. So what I will do when I'm asking my questions that I've prepared for the GSK team, I will be looking out for questions from you all as candidates to ask to the panelists that have volunteered their time to be here. All right, so we'll do the panel discussion, live Q&A, and then we will finish up with very important next steps. Especially, I'm sure a lot of you will be excited about the opportunities that you're going to learn about here with GSK. So you will have then the opportunity to understand what the next steps are. So if you want to interview for potential opportunity with GSK, you will know how to do that. All right, so with that being said, that is our event agenda. And let me go over a brief introduction for myself and a welcome for all of you. Again, my name is Will Moss. I'm the founder and CEO of HBCU CONNECT. I'm a Hampton graduate, computer science background, 1995. We've been around for years as a place for HBCU alumni and students to not only connect with each other, but also connect with opportunities, which brings you all here tonight. Some of you may have already been within our network and familiar with HBCU CONNECT and received an invite to this special event, but others of you may have heard about the event through outreach from my team to get the right people here to learn more about opportunities with GSK. So we welcome you. The thing I like to remind people is that there are lots of companies that do events and info sessions, and a lot of times candidates leave the event and they don't know what to do. They don't feel that they've engaged, and they don't feel that they have a path to potentially interviewing. So one thing that we pride ourselves with our events is that these are intentional events. The company GSK is here to hopefully interview and hire some of you all that have taken the time out to learn more about GSK and follow the steps in order to potentially land a job. So these are real events, a real opportunity for you to potentially get hired. We've been working with GSK for a couple of years now. We had a great event towards the end of last year where we had opportunities in the Richmond area within GSK, but the team here tonight is a different team with, I think, a bit of a broader scope. So you're going to learn more about their opportunities. But we've had a great relationship and partnership with GSK. So we want to thank GSK for this partnership and for presenting your opportunities to our candidates this evening. So if everybody is ready, I will go ahead and start the show and introduce Deborah Rutherford, who's going to be our keynote speaker. Deborah is the Vice President of U.S. Pharmaceuticals and Respiratory Sales. So Deborah, if you're ready.
All right, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
All right. Hey, HBCU family. I am so glad you guys joined us today. Thank you so much. I hope my bandwidth is going to hold on. Every single person in my family decided to get on their computer at the exact same time. So hopefully you guys can hear me through my whole little talk here. Listen, special thanks to HBCU Connects for the invite for GSK. And I also want to say thank you to our panel representing GSK. Let me tell you something, we got a good one for y'all because we got representation from our businesses in HIV, specialty, consumer, vaccines, respiratory, across sales, marketing, product design, analytics, science, and of course, supply chain. So thank you in advance for the panel that's going to be representing the company today. As well, introduce Debbie Rutherford, VP of Sales for respiratory franchise here in the United States and also in Puerto Rico. I got to tell you, 60% of GSK's global respiratory business courses through my teams. And I started as a rep. All right. So hopefully you guys can get a picture as to the ideas of what is possible if you look for a career here at GSK. So we can get into that in a little bit. But listen, I want to tell you a little bit about us, because I'm assuming most of you don't know too much about us. So let me just walk you through a little bit about what makes GSK GSK. First and foremost, our guiding principle is we want to help people do more, feel better, and live longer. And over the next decade, 1 in every 4 patients in this country we plan to serve. We plan to help through our 3 global businesses, our technical knowledge, and our talented people. And we proudly wear that as a badge every single day that we come to work. If you are aware at all about the pharmaceutical industry, you know that the importance, the value, the longevity of a pharmaceutical company is rooted in its research and development pipeline. GSK, y'all, has a history that expands over 300 years. And we have more than 200 products. We have best in class, we have first in class, we have growth, we have pipeline assets, all of that already in market and soon to be commercially available as well. So that speaks to our ability to generate a portfolio that helps protect people throughout the course of their lives. And that's important for us, okay? I want you guys to think about that next time you think about that small biotech organization. It's got 2 or 3 products in its pipeline that hasn't launched yet, all right? We are 94,000 strong, and we have a long, long history of scientific achievements to include things like early advancements in leukemia and HIV and antibiotics. I'm telling you guys, we are here to stay. And as we speak, we are strengthening our pipeline. We are looking at sciences related to the immune system, human genetics, advanced technologies around just vaccines, HIV, you name it, specialty. And one of our pride points is we are industry leaders when it comes to respiratory, HIV, specialty vaccines, of which 40% of children in the world get one of our vaccines. And of course, our large consumer company, which is a joint venture between us and Pfizer. I want to tell you, we have a partnership with 23andMe. Many of you guys probably have already taken the test to see what your own genetics look like. 23andMe, we are utilizing one of the world's largest genetic databases to identify pathogens that actually cause disease and get ahead of that before they manifest themselves in the body. And why that's important is because that's going to help with unmet medical needs. And frankly, it's going to transform the future for all of us when we think about how we take medicines and how we use medicines. And so, listen, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we represent as an organization. But I want to be clear, we got huge aspirations. We have huge ambition. And I'll be honest with you, we do have our faults, which is why we are looking for strong, ambitious, engaged individuals that can come on board and help launch a new GSK, one that's going to set us up for success for the next 300 years. Okay. So I know my colleagues are going to walk you guys a little bit through some of the opportunities that present themselves today. We got some good ones for you, so please consider that. But right now, before I wrap, I want to just take a minute to deviate from script here. Since we have our HBCU brothers and sisters on the line, I just want to give you guys a little bit of career advice. I wish someone gave me the career advice I'm going to give you, okay? First and foremost, we are all straight out of lockdown, COVID lockdown. And what that means is that you guys are entering a job search. You are entering a job market that is different than when it looked in 2019. Everything around COVID is different. I think you guys can all relate to that. Who would have thought? No schools, right? Schools closed, gyms closed. Who would have thought that every restaurant in every zip code in every county in every state wouldn't allow people eating them, right? Who would have thought that hundreds of millions of people would be out of work? Who would have thought that we would go around and not be able to kiss somebody, hug somebody, shake somebody's hand? And I tell you what, I'm tired of that whole elbow bump thing. I am so over that right now. But listen, one of the things I know for sure, and I want you to remember this, is that we are all entering a period of reform, right? Rebirth. And what I know for sure is you cannot go through what we all just went through and come out the exact same other side rather, with the same sort of mindset, the same beliefs, and in some cases, the same jacked up priorities as it relates to your career and what you want for your life. I had to go through that epiphany myself not too long ago. And so I'm encouraging you guys to make sure you do that, because there's some lessons that COVID has taught us that's important as far as what you want to do with your job search. First and foremost, COVID has taught us that we have to get back to the basics, the simple things, right? All that stuff that you thought were so important in your life, all that stuff that was just so critical, it all got washed away with COVID. It all went right out the window. And so now it's about really getting back to what is essential. In most cases, for most of us, it is about health, both mentally, physically, I'll throw in spiritually, and absolutely financially. So as you think about a company or companies that you want to put your career behind, make sure that that is protected. The organizations you are looking for and researching need to be invested in you and in what you want in terms of those things that are important to you, are essential to you, okay? I can tell you firsthand from a GSK standpoint, we are one of those companies. And then second, I want you to imagine the impossible. If COVID has taught us nothing else, it has taught us what is impossible can actually happen, right? If you never thought that you wanted to go into leadership, I want you to rethink that, because you and I both know there's not enough of us at the top. So I need you to rethink that. If you never thought that you were going to be a leader, rethink it, right? I didn't want to be a leader. I never wanted to be a leader, but someone led me to think differently. And so I'm doing the same thing for you. If you thought that sales was the way you wanted to go, I want you to rethink that too. Nothing wrong with sales. I love sales. And you may start at sales with GSK, but you might find marketing or HR or finance or R&D or vice versa or whatever has a better, more inspiring, thrilling career ride for you. And that is okay. Just be open to the journey. That's how I got to my position. I was open to the journey over the course of my 20 plus years with GSK. And that's why I am in the role I'm in today. So look for an organization where those possibilities are endless. Once again, I can say from a GSK standpoint, that company is us. We got 2 corporate offices, one in Philly, one in North Carolina. Our global vaccines operation is housed in Maryland. We got R&D sites across the country. Our federal operations is in DC. So we are a round. And on top of that, our main international operations are in the UK and in Singapore. So we would be honored if you would consider considering us a place called home. Okay. So I'm going to get off my soapbox here for now. But if you choose GSK, just know it would be my distinct pleasure to be your first mentor and sponsor into this organization. So if you choose to come on board with us, you make sure you look me up, okay? So with that, I will encourage you guys to stay safe, and I'll turn the floor right back over to Will.
Deborah, can I ask you 2 quick follow-up questions?
Please do.
And I love it when we go off script, because this is a diversity event. This is a HBCU event, an African-American event, and welcome to our Latino or Latinx brothers and sisters as well. But I love when we go off script, because I feel like it's coming from the heart, or coming from a place of sharing, right, with our candidates. So I appreciate that. So my 2 quick questions for you are: what was your path to GSK? And then what is it that you like most now that you work there? What is it that you like most about working at the company?
Yeah, so the path has been an interesting one. See, I didn't start out right out of college. Frankly, right out of grad school, I didn't start with GSK. I actually started with State Farm, and then I moved over to UPS. And that mattered to me because I wanted to be, in both cases, I wanted to be with an organization that was at the top of the heap, right? One of the industry leaders. So that's why I chose State Farm. That's why I chose UPS. And ultimately why I wound up with GSK, because I wanted one at the top. There are things that you get to experience with organizations that are bigger and broader, things that you would never experience in some of the smaller organizations. And it's not to knock smaller organizations, But for me, I wanted to experience a lot in the short time period I was going to be on this earth. And so I wanted to take full advantage of a bigger organization where I can move around and try different things. And so that's what landed me here with GSK. Actually, the offer to get promoted at UPS and the offer to come over to GSK came within 3 hours of each other. And I chose to go to GSK just to try something a little bit different, get into the pharmaceutical industry. And it's not like we're selling chocolates. It's not like we're selling cars. We are doing things that help people stay alive. And so if that motivates you, it's a pride point.
Excellent.
And then your second question was,
what is it that you like most about working there?
The people. And even those that leave GSK say the thing they miss most is the people.
Excellent. Very well said. We appreciate you being our keynote. Hopefully you can hang on to for our panel discussion as well.
You got it.
But with that, let me go ahead and introduce our first panelist. And I will remove the spotlight from Deborah. So our first panelist is going to be Anthony Jamerson, AJ, Regional Sales Director, HIV Prevention. So AJ, if you're ready.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay, Will?
Yes, sir. Let me go ahead and spotlight you.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so happy to be here, being able to engage individuals on this particular call on today, on specifically HBCU Connect. As you can see here, I've been with ViiV and GSK for a total of 16 years. I've had multiple roles across functional areas, including marketing, HR, and sales leadership, and as well as across multiple therapeutic areas, of course, as you can see there on the slide. In different parts of the country, I've led teams in the Southeast, the Midwest, and the Southwest. And as you can see here, as I've grown in my career and development, prior to even joining GSK/ViiV, I've really always focused on the 4 C's there, being courageous, competitive, consistent, and collaborative. And one of the things, as Deborah mentioned earlier, that what I'll always encourage you to do as you're currently with your current employers, but as you seek other opportunities, is to really seek out opportunities that's going to allow you to be in a collaborative type environment. That's really important because as we move through not only this COVID time, but specifically ensuring that we are partnering with others who may have different backgrounds than us or different ideas or different experiences, there's always something that we can learn, right? We may hear a lot of narrative and things that are going on in the world today that's trying to create division, but it's really, really important that we all really lean on this collaborative mindset. And I just encourage you to always seek out, employers or companies or a culture that really, drives on that collaborative mindset. Currently, I also serve on the ViiV North America Inclusion and Diversity Council. This is a council that I'm a co-lead that really pulls through inclusion and diversity, being really some major initiatives within our organization. I am originally from Arkansas, where I started off with GSK as a sales rep there in the central part of the state. Attended college there at University of Central Arkansas, member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. I like to really, tease a lot of individuals around being a world-class Dallas Cowboys fan. I do CrossFit, and I also have a daughter who's a freshman at Howard University. So really excited about her attending that university. So thanks, Will. You go over to the next slide so I can share a little bit about ViiV Healthcare. So, one of the things here that I'm really proud of, I moved over from GSK to ViiV maybe 4 or 5 years ago because I wanted to really have a better understanding of what other opportunities that we have in an organization. But more importantly, I wanted to really increase my knowledge specifically in regards to HIV. One of the things that ViiV is really excited about and proud of is that we've been delivering breakthrough medicines in HIV since 2009. We're the only pharmaceutical company that's 100% focused globally on HIV. That's really our life's work. That is our mission. As you move over the next slide there, Will, you'll see in this particular slide, there are over 38 million people are living with HIV globally, which is really something for us to be aware of because within the US, there's about 1.1 million individuals who are at risk of contracting HIV. There's about 38,000 newly diagnosed individuals every year. The majority of those individuals come from about 40 counties throughout the US, mostly in southern states. And it really is a major increase in MSMs, Black and Latino men having sex with men. It's also in regards to cisgender women, right? So that's the space that really is impacted within HIV transmission rates currently within the US. People that look like most of us on this call. ViiV Healthcare is made up of 3 companies, GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, and Shionogi. GSK is the major shareholder, but ViiV operates as an individual entity outside of GSK, but GSK is the major shareholder. We have over 13 local operating companies and are present in more than 50 countries throughout GSK, over 1,400 employees. We're really proud of our clinical trials that we've had in this space. Over 300 clinical trials that we've completed or are actually underway, 16 approved treatments. We really are really excited about future products that's coming within our pipeline, not only in regards to treatment, but also prevention. And another piece that really is important to ViiV is really being involved with the communities that we serve, specific to the LGBTQ community, also ensuring that we're really engaged with individuals to ensure that we're moving and taking away the impact of stigma and providing education awareness in the space of HIV. Go to the next slide there, Will. This is our letter to HIV and AIDS. Our whole mission and goal with ViiV Healthcare is to eradicate HIV and AIDS. And we really focus on making sure that that's what our goal is. And we are here until HIV and AIDS are not. So that's what we're really striving for as an organization. And I'll say one of the things when I talk about ViiV as a culture perspective, we really are really focused on making sure that we're partnering with the communities that we are part of, that we know that HIV and AIDS has a huge stigma, especially in the southern states, especially within the, as I mentioned earlier, between the African American, Black and Brown communities as well. And we see this as a huge opportunity to really make sure we're having a great impact within our community. And that was the overarching reason why I decided to take a role within ViiV Healthcare. So currently we do have 3 opportunities that are out there. These 3 particular roles are the field reimbursement manager, HIV community engagement specialist, and a territory account manager for prevention. So this is a new space that ViiV is walking into. So we're actually building new teams currently in the prevention space. Currently, we are fully active in treatment for HIV, but now we're actually planning to, based on future approval of new products, is to have a team that's focused on prevention in 2022. As you can see here, the field reimbursement manager is a role that's really focused on partnering with local payers within a certain area to make sure there's access to our medications, to ensuring that the local accounts and the hospital institutions have the information they need to make sure they have a pathway for their patients or their consumers to have access to the medication. One of the areas that's really new to ViiV is this community engagement specialist. So you may recall when I talked about one of the things that's really important to ViiV is to make sure that we're decreasing stigma and providing more education and awareness. This role is brand new to ViiV, and it's going to play a major role into making sure that we pull that through, where these individuals will partner with local community groups, activist groups, fraternities and sororities, different types of organizations within the local communities, so we can actually increase the awareness and education around prevention. Because one way to minimize HIV transmission is to be able to have individuals that are taking prevention, so they're not in a place where they can contract the virus of HIV. And then the last one again is the territory account manager, which is basically a sales role that you'll engage primary care doctors, infectious disease doctors, internists, to really talk about the clinical benefit of the medication, and really encourage these HCPs to have conversations with individuals they're seeing around their sexual health, to ensure if they're at risk, they're actually on prevention medication so they will not contract the virus. So really great opportunities with ViiV Healthcare. Love to have any of you individuals on this call to submit your to apply for any of the roles, or even engage me about any of the roles you have any additional questions. So Will, that is, I think that's my last slide. So I'll pause there, see if there are any questions for me.
Always got a couple of follow-up questions. I appreciate it, Anthony. Very interesting stuff. So my question for you is, in your current role, what is a day in the life like for you?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. I just recently transitioned over to this new role. I was previously on the marketing team where I reported into the VP of marketing, and that role where I really focused on key opinion leaders. And that role really was focused on promotional speaker program. So we have HCPs across the entire US, about 140 of those individuals that support our promotional programs that provide education to healthcare providers. So we would go into the accounts, do a lunch, we're bringing a key opinion leader to talk about their experience with the products, why they see it as be a great benefit for their patients, and why that may be an option for that particular account's office as well. So in a day in the life, I'll always have opportunities where I'm engaging our marketing team on their strategies and tactics, engaging the operations team, as well as the sales team to ensure that we're putting the resources in place to ensure that we'll be able to pull through our overall objectives for each product that we have on the market. So as I now transition over to this new role, as I mentioned, this is a new team that we're building. So I'm actually doing both roles right now and transitioning over to the new role fully, but we're in the process of actually interviewing. Is actually what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Before I got on this call, I had a few phone screen interviews with a few territory account managers in the southwest part of the country. I'll be based in Dallas, Texas, and I'll support the states that are in the southwest part of the US, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Nevada, as well as New Mexico will be my area. So we're fiercely hiring and building this team as of right now. So that's currently my day in the life and two roles that I'm kind of balancing right now, Will. So good question.
Awesome. And you actually start to answer my second question as I'm keeping an eye on the chat. And that is about, for these roles that you have, where are the opportunities located? So you mentioned the states that you'll be responsible for, but will this also be rolled out nationwide, where other people on the team may have openings as well in different parts of the country?
Yeah, really great question. So the territory account manager roles, we're actually hiring over 60 territory account managers, and that is for the entire US, right? So I just talked specifically about my region. We have 8 other regions that encompass the entire country that we are hiring within a lot of the major metropolitan cities, territory account manager roles. The community engagement specialist roles, they're more focused on the southern part of the state, the southern part of the US, because those are the areas that are underserved in the South. As I mentioned earlier, there are 40 counties that have been identified by the US government to be areas of high importance in order to ensure that we're putting processes in place and providing additional education and awareness to ensure that we're eradicating HIV within these certain areas, because that's where you see a higher rate of transmission of HIV, specifically in the southern states. So we do have several roles that are aligned to the community engagement specialists only in the southern states. There's one in the New York area, and there's one also in the LA area as well, Los Angeles.
Awesome, man, you covered it. So Anthony, thank you for being one of our panelists. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next panelist, but to our candidates and to Anthony, go ahead and ask your questions for Anthony specifically in the chat. And then Anthony, if you can keep an eye on the chat to see if you can answer some of those questions from our candidates, because I see some good questions coming in regarding those roles.
Happy.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, so our next panelist that I want to introduce is Anton. And let me replace the spotlight real fast and introduce Anton. Anton Lewis, who is the Field Vice President, U.S. Pharmaceuticals Respiratory. And Anton is a proud Hampton graduate, and I have to give you a shout out for that because Hampton is the real.
There we go. There we go. The real HU. There we go. Appreciate it, Will. Thanks, HBCU Connect family.
Yes,
I'm sure that comment there right there will get the chat moving a little bit. But it's all good. It's all good. So one, it's my pleasure to be here speaking with you all here today. A great opportunity to connect with folks that I definitely have a connection with, having the HBCU background. You got my slide up there. I mean, I figured, so I can go down this list, but I was thinking I might take a different route and maybe tell you a little bit about how I got to where I am right now, and maybe give you a little bit of perspective here in terms of what could be possible. What are some of the opportunities at GSK, as it's been really a great career for me. So I'll start out. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I like to say that just because, that's hometown, and I still got family there, born and raised. But then went off to Hampton University, and where I had a great experience where it was just from a standpoint of family, the connection, the friends. You could see there that I pledged Alpha at Hampton. And when I think about my times there, I did a lot of stuff, some stuff that I probably won't tell all my kids, but a lot of great things that I honestly laid the foundation for me in terms of just my life. And I think that's one of the great things about going to a HBCU is that you get that chance to actually connect with like-minded folks and to really build those relationships that endure over the test of time. So great experience there. While I was there, I actually was in ROTC, and that was my first taste of leadership experience. And actually after Hampton, I was actually commissioned into the United States Army as a lieutenant. And furthering those initial foundations laid at Hampton, that's where I got further leadership experience, getting a chance to lead larger groups of people in a real world setting. And that was also great too, just from a standpoint of learning how people are and are under all different types of situations, stressful, relaxed, and really getting a chance just to learn and lead people in that space. So I was in the Army for about 6 years, taking on a number of different roles, and then decided to do a little bit of a pivot and do something a little bit different. And actually went into the pharmaceutical world. So I actually started over in Pfizer as a sales representative, and then moved over to GSK as a sales representative. So notice that I said I didn't have any necessary sales experience, quote unquote, what people would say sales experience, but I did have experiences, and I had experiences leading people. And like I would say, any job you're doing or anything that you're doing, you're probably selling something to somebody at some point. So I did use those experiences and transitioned that into the pharmaceutical world, and started out in sales, like I said, and been with GSK for the last 16 years, taking on a number of different roles, whether it be sales, whether it be marketing, or global roles such. So I started there and started working through a number of different jobs, and they were all great opportunities. Got the itch to get back into management and took over a district sales manager job in the Maryland, DC area, and did that for a little bit. Then I went over into our long-term care division, where we were calling on nursing homes and long-term care facilities along the East Coast. And then jumped over to our specialty division, where we launched the first of its kind respiratory biologic that was an injectable for those patients with severe asthma. Did that for a little bit, and then really said, hey, I want to change it up and learn a little bit more about this organization called GSK, and went over to our home office over in the UK that was based out of London, and worked out of the office of our CEO on some enterprise level projects, where I really got a chance to help with some of the future strategy of the company, and working through how and when and what exactly GSK will transform into in the future. From there, came back to the US and took on a marketing job, where I led the commercialization of one of our newest indications for our biologic product. And then after that, decided to go back into the sales leadership side and took over the field vice president role for the Mid-Atlantic region, which is where I currently am. So that includes Maryland, DC, Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And during that time, I've had a great opportunity to work with a ton of great people at GSK. I think about, even on this call, Deb, who you heard from, actually worked for her a couple of different times and get a chance to actually learn from her leadership. When I think about AJ on this call, we started literally at the exact same time 16 years ago at GSK. And to still be able to see those folks and see them and hear how they've been doing, it's actually pretty amazing and pretty cool to see. When I think about other things that I'm involved with at GSK, which I think are really important, and I think are really things that matter when you think about not just your day job, but the other things that you can be a part of. I think about my experiences with our employee resource groups, two in particular, Mosaic, which is essentially our African-American employee resource group, as well as our Veterans, Family, and Friends group as well. So again, finding those additional connections outside of just your day-to-day job really kind of help round out your overall experience here at GSK, which I'm very proud of. And then finally, I just talk about just externally. I think it's always good for us to connect and always be in touch with others I'm part of the National Sales Network, which, if you're not familiar with it, it is the African American sales network nationally for all different types of sales here in the Washington, Baltimore chapter. But of course, we have chapters all across the US. So I just throw that out there, just all different ways to connect with people, like-minded people, to continue to build your connections and learn more about not only the company you're with, but other industries as well. So Will, if you could take the next slide over there. So I know AJ was talking about ViiV, our HIV company. I'm actually part of the respiratory division. And what I'll say about our respiratory division is that it's got a long, illustrious history of, we have a long, illustrious history here at GSK of being a respiratory leader globally. When you think about the medicines that we're able to actually provide to patients, they cover the whole gambit, from your patients who are taking their short-acting albuterol, all the way to the most severe asthmatic patients that you have. Currently in our respiratory business unit, we carry Trelegy Ellipta. And the cool thing about Trelegy Ellipta is that it's the first of its kind. It's the first and only once daily triple therapy in one single inhaler for adult patients with COPD and asthma. So when you think about that, those are those patients who honestly suffer from a disease that really prevents them from breathing. So if you think about just taking a moment in time and thinking about all of us right now, some things we take for granted. We take for granted the fact that we're on this call right now, taking deep breaths, and we're breathing easily, and we're just here. You think about those COPD and asthma patients, breathing is not something that they take for granted. It's something that they think about. And if you think about, if you're in a place where you can't breathe, you want something that's actually going to be something that can help you. And the great place we are with this respiratory business unit is we're able to provide a medicine that actually helps patients to breathe better. And I don't take that lightly. I think that's very important. And if I think about my career at GSK, one of the things that strikes me is no matter what the product's been or no matter what I've been involved in, the patients are always at the center of all of our conversations, because it's all about what can we do for them to help them live a better life. And that is really, truly rewarding. Deb said it, it's not from a standpoint that we're selling candy or like I would used to say it, we're not selling widgets, we're selling medicines. I think about my oldest son. This is probably about 6 or 7 years ago. He was probably in the first or second grade. And I remember he asked me, he said, "Daddy, what do you do every day? What do you do?" And I actually had to think about that for a second, because, we got all these fancy titles, but how do you explain to a first grader, like, what do you actually do? And what I said to him, I said, I work for a company that makes medicines that help patients feel better and help people feel better. And I'll never forget that moment, because he got it immediately. He said, "Oh, okay, I get that. And he walked away, of course, to go play or whatever. But for me, that was a pretty cool moment to be able to say that I do truly work for one of the global leaders that actually help people to feel better. So yeah, that's just a little bit about our respiratory business unit and kind of what our focus is from that standpoint. So Will, if you can go to the next slide. So let's go to this, because I feel like right now it's my opportunity to sell you all, right? So I need you all to understand why GSK, what and where could all of you all on this call, where could you possibly come in and potentially help us to go to the next level? And when I think about that, we have a number of different sales opportunities located across the country in our respiratory business unit. And you can see the list of places there. And what I will say is when you think about who do we want to hire into those positions, we want to hire on top of your basic qualifications, right? So, of course, you've got to be college grad, you've got to have, some type of professional experience. But really beyond that, what I will say is are some of those core things on the side, on the right-hand side there that you see. You see curiosity and drive. When you think about that, it's curiosity from a standpoint of always wanting to know a little bit more, and then having the drive to go out there and figure out the answer or figuring out what you can do around a specific thing. When you think about discipline and follow through, It's the discipline to not come up with just a plan, but to actually action on it, to execute it at a really high level and follow it all the way through. When you think about patient focused, it's about really truly always keeping the patient at the heart of all of our conversations. That's really important. Again, it's not just about going out there and just selling. It's about really making sure that when you speak to that healthcare practitioner, you're really connecting the dots to them on why our medication would be the best fit for the right patient. When you think about people skills, it's about not just kind of, being able to talk to people, but it's really understanding people, understanding kind of where their angle is, what's happening with them, and adapting your skill set and the way you approach them based off of what will be most beneficial for them. When I think about empathy, it's thinking about truly everything that's going on in that healthcare practitioner's mind as they're treating their patients, and being able to truly think about that and understand that. Because again, it comes back to how can we help them best serve their patients? And then resiliency. If any of you all have any experience with sales, you know what it's like to get the no. You know what it feels like to get knocked down. But what's it going to take for you to be able to bounce back up, to stand back up, to push through and fight through and persevere? And then that last piece there in the middle is competitiveness. And this is just my bias here. It's about what kind of competitiveness can you bring to it? Do you have that competitive spirit? Do you have something inside of you that burns a little bit right, a little bit longer than everybody else, and makes you want just a little bit more? So a lot of times people ask, say, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Well, hopefully what I've done there is outline a couple of things there that could really help you as you start thinking about, is this the right position for you? Because I truly believe GSK has some great opportunities out there that can help. And I know without a doubt, with all the people that we've got, I think we've got over 100 folks on this call. There's some people out here that are probably chomping at the bit at probably some of these opportunities. All right, so I'll stop there, Will, and throw it back over to you. I see how this goes. I think you got some questions for me.
Always have some questions. My first question for you is that your home office?
This is my home office. So yeah. So
the reason why I asked that, I think great minds think alike with that Hampton influence, because it looks just like my office here. But hey, Anton, what is it that you like most about working at GSK in your role?
Yeah, you know what? It's the people, Will. I mean, I think about my career everywhere that I've been and everything that I've done. It's the people that really make it all go. The fact that I work at GSK and the fact that every single day we're focused on what and how we can best benefit the patient really connects and resonates with me. If it was not that way, I don't know if I could be here, quite honestly. So the fact that the people that I work with are always, trying to push the envelope in terms of how much we can possibly do to do what's best on behalf of patients really does resonate with me, and it makes me feel good. And that's why I stay here, quite honestly.
I think that's excellent. So one follow-up question for you, and that is let's see here. Can you speak to sort of a day in the life, what it's like for you in a day in the life? And the other thing I noticed about your background is that you've been with the company for quite some time, and you've had several different roles. So how hard or easy is it to move around within the company?
Yeah, so I'll throw out a day in the life, right? You know what? And I'll do a day in the life for me. I'll try to describe a day in the life for a sales rep. And then I'll follow up with that last question around how easy is it for you to move around, right, within the organization?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'll start out with my life. My life right now is probably not as fun as what it used to be. I feel like I'm in a lot of these types of virtual meetings where we're talking about what we're going to do next and trying to plan out strategy. But there are great opportunities there to kind of really dive in and figure out, and look around the corner. What I try to do is from my position, I try to look ahead and not get caught up in the day to day, because I've got a great leadership team of managers that really do focus on coaching and leading their people every single day. So for me, a lot of my job is how can I clear out the way so they can do that even better, without any distractions and without any hurdles or roadblocks. So a lot of my time is head up, looking out a little bit into the future, clearing out the way for the rest of the folks on my team so they can go out there and do what they do best. Now, from a sales representative perspective, and that's what we have here, we got some openings here. And I remember my days doing this, and this is, this is where the rubber meets the road. Every day you're getting a chance to actually interact with healthcare practitioners and being able to share information with them on why and how our medicines can actually help their patients. And that's essentially what you do. You do it with multiple physicians, whether it be in their office setting, whether it be in a hospital setting. Understanding we've got COVID, we've got to set up to where you can even interact with these healthcare practitioners virtually. All those things are really about how can we absolutely make sure we're sharing all the best information with them so they can make the best informed decision with their patients on how they treat and manage their disease. And then the last question you asked me was, what's it look like to be able to move around and do different things at GSK? And what I'll say is a lot of that depends on the person. And I'm not trying to give a cop-out answer, but I'll tell you, if you are able to relocate and you're able to move around and you're able to work virtually, to travel, it opens up your opportunities and experiences. It really does. I'll be the first one to tell you, like, for a while, I didn't want to move anywhere. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. And I understood that was going to limit some of my opportunities. But as I got to a certain point, I started to say, you know what? I'm not willing to move, but I'll travel. And when I said that, all of a sudden, a couple other things started open. Oh, you willing to travel? Okay, let's see. So instead of just staying here in Maryland, I traveled along the whole East Coast. I covered 10 different states. I traveled. I still worked out of essentially home in Maryland, but I did travel. And then as I started doing that a little bit more, I started saying, well, we've got a good support system with my family here. There's some opportunities to do some things abroad. And I said, all right, I'll raise my hand. And you know what? I'm willing to go overseas and do a stint over there. And the opportunity presented itself where I was able to go do that. So I'll just say this, a lot of it comes back to what it is you really can do from a standpoint of moving around and relocating. But I will say being able to do that does open up a lot of your opportunities for experiences.
Excellent. Anton, from one Hamptonian to another, I want to thank you for being on our panel, and you're making me proud.
There we go. Hey, I'll tell you, it's nothing like some pirates, man. I'll tell you, it's nothing like some pirates.
So thanks, Anton, for being one of our panelists. And with that, let me go ahead and actually introduce our next speaker. And our next speaker is Kimberly Anderson, Regional Sales Director of Vaccines. And Kimberly's actually a FAMU grad. So Kimberly, if you're ready.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So hello, everyone. And one thing I noticed about HBCUs is it doesn't matter which one you went to. They're all the best. They're the greatest. Or, we have a lot of trash to talk. I love it. And then someone mentioned pirates. So I just wanted to say that I'm sorry to Will and I believe AJ with y'all clapping for the Cowboys because the Buccaneers really did have a good win last week. So sorry about that. All right, jumping into business. My name is Kimberly Anderson. I am a regional sales director for our vaccines division. And vaccines obviously is a topic of conversation on everybody's mind lately. We love it, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes we struggle with managing all of the misinformation that's out there, but really is a wonderful place to be within the organization. So as all of the speakers have shared with you, we all have vast experiences, and GSK has really allowed us to be ourselves and to kind of grow and do different things here. So I'll talk about that for a little bit. I'm currently a regional sales director based in Tampa. So now that's why the Bucks reference. I have spent 10 years in headquarters in Philadelphia. So not really being a true football fan. I was an Eagles fan at some point. So I'm going to stick with the Buccaneers. All right. So 21 years here at GSK, had a vast amount of experience. I too started in sales from some of our previous business units. It's more of our general pharma where we had cardiovascular, urology, anti-infectives, that division. From there, I had an opportunity to come into my very first vaccines role, which was in marketing. And I led or was a member of our flu franchise there. Then I had an opportunity to work on some of our other brands as we were launching. We had some meningococcal brands that I worked on before heading off to sales training, kind of connecting my previous experience as a teacher, and we'll talk about that in a second, to bringing it to corporate and doing some sales training where I actually got my first leadership role that brought me to my role that I'm currently in now, which is field sales director, field sales leadership here in Tampa. So a lot of different roles. And as you can see from my background, my major was elementary education. And so that probably sparks a lot of questions. I saw a lot of questions in the chat about, I don't have this experience, I don't have that experience. And as you can see, I had zero experience for any of the roles that I just mentioned. But I think Deb kicked it off great at the beginning by saying, imagine the impossible. So anything is possible. And it all started with a leader who looked like me, who invested in me and people like me and gave me a chance. So, sometimes all you need to do is get in front of people. And once I got there with zero sales experience, I sold myself and all of the things that I had accomplished as a teacher. So I was able to teach in Tallahassee and in my hometown for a total of 6 years before getting an opportunity to come into corporate America. I grew up in one of the smallest counties in Florida. So I'm a country girl on top of all of this. Didn't even have a clue what pharmaceutical sales or anything in this industry was about. Never saw a sales rep in my small town. Out of 67 counties, our county is 66 on the poverty level. So we're just, we were just struggling people, working people, just trying to learn. I always wanted to find a career where I could help people. And obviously I started with teaching, but also my career in pharma allows us to help people. One of our tenants, as Deb started the conversation with, do more, feel better, and live longer. And that has always resonated with me. In my career in vaccines now, and I've been here in the vaccines business unit for almost a decade, because, being on the preventative side allows us to really impact a lot of people from birth to death and from preventing disease. And so as the topic of vaccines is out there every single day, even today, talking about not being able to allow people into the country from Afghanistan because of measles. We had eradicated measles in the United States. And it made its way back with the anti-vax movement. But that's encouraging to me that the conversation is around vaccines and we have an opportunity to dispel some of the myths and talk about our products. So if we can go to the next slide, I'll get into what that looks like from our business. So the most important part is putting patients first. And we'll all talk about that across our business units. Putting patients first is what it's at the heart of everything that we do. We wouldn't have any business without patients. We wouldn't have any business without the concern for our communities. And so when looking at this, we're talking about worldwide. I know a lot of you are asking questions about, global opportunities. We have manufacturing sites in over 5 countries serving the United States vaccine supply. So the United States is our largest market for vaccines, but we do a lot to help underserved countries with all of the research and all of the activity that sort of happens in the US. We're able to fund a lot of programs in underserved countries. So next slide, please. This is one of my favorite slides and one of my favorite things to hear, and this came from the WHO. Only clean drinking water rivals vaccination in its ability to save lives. So that's very profound. So, people get sick. They have to go through some sort of therapeutics for their illnesses to treat, and vaccines is actually trying to prevent any illnesses or any deaths. One of my favorite stories, I was recently talking to my dad, and he is 76, and he was sharing with me, we're just talking about a relative, and he was sharing with me that relative was one of 4 people, the last 4 people in our county to contract polio. As you know, that is one of the diseases that's eradicated from the United States, but it still exists in other countries. And that's why it's so important that we, really focus in on making sure our populations are vaccinated. I know there's a lot of conversation about it. People agree and people disagree. But really, if we think about it, I don't know anyone with polio. And there are a lot of diseases where people actually, and even now you hear people begging, if I had known that I was going to go through this, I would have taken an opportunity to get vaccinated against whatever disease. But here we see 2 to 3 million deaths prevented every year by vaccination, which is awesome. 750,000 children saved from disability every year. So I think, we're a benefit of or a victim of our own success. We don't hear a lot about these diseases, so people forget about how they're vaccinated. Next slide, please. I saw a funny thing on Facebook. Someone was saying that, whatever happened to childhood diseases like chicken, they called it chicken pox, POPS. But whatever happened to them? We don't have them anymore, and we're thankful because of vaccines. So this kind of tells a story of all of the vaccines in our portfolio. So we have a vast portfolio at GSK that covers pediatric population, adolescent, and adults, and then our elderly population. So when I first got the job, I'll be very transparent and honest. I was only aware that adults needed flu vaccine, and I'd had one hepatitis vaccine because I was a teacher. Did not realize there was a full schedule for adults, just like there are for kids. Many of you have kids, the schedules that your kids have been vaccinated on, but there's vaccines for adults too, and vaccines for the elderly. And we have an extensive portfolio right now and a lot of things in the pipeline. And I'll honestly say, when Deb was talking at the beginning, one of the things that really stood out for me about GSK when I first got hired was every sales meeting, they would put up that pipeline and show all of the things that we had in development. And that was just so exciting to me because, we talk about changing lives and saving lives and just seeing how illness and how sickness has covered our country, covered the world, but just being on the side where you can help people, it's just amazing to me. So next slide, please. So we're here to talk about some opportunities, and the job that I have currently is Regional Sales Director, and that is the job that our vaccines division wanted us to highlight and focus. And really, I think, one of the things about my job that I really love is that still the opportunity to get to work with people, to lead and to develop others. And so if you have any sales experience or management experience, this is definitely a great opportunity for anyone who is looking to lead people. And so one of the things my leaders tell me, or that I know that they're looking for, people who are agile. The vaccines market is very dynamic, changes almost daily. Nothing really stays the same. So you have to kind of be flexible in your thinking and very resilient, because prior to 2020, there were 3 major vaccines companies in the world. And now, with the incoming COVID vaccines, there's over 9 vaccine companies, all within just that short period of time. And we're all racing to do the same thing, which is to prevent disease. So being agile, strategic with strong coaching skills, performance driven. I think Anton talked about that before. You have to be out there, be competitive, really understand your markets and how you can drive the business, but you're leading people, so being empathetic is also helpful, and making sure that you can connect with people and not forgetting development, and understanding how people want to be treated and how people want to move within the organization is also helpful for a leadership role. So I think that's it for my presentation, but I really just wanted to encourage those people who, you may not have experience that sort of aligns, but there are all sorts of opportunities. We work very much with the government and the public space. Our number one customer for our pediatric portfolio is the government with our Vaccines for Children's program. So very much in the public works opportunities. We do call on health departments. We call on federal qualified health centers. We call on, hospitals. We call on individual providers. We run the gamut of our customer base, but at the end of the day, it's the patients' lives that we impact, and we're most excited about that. So I'm done. I'll open it up for any questions.
Excellent. So my follow-up question is, what was your path to GSK, from a FAMU grad to now what you do at GSK?
So I did teach for 6 years, like I said, and then I happened to have a roommate who, she was my college roommate, and she'd gotten an opportunity in pharma through one of the parents. She was a teacher as well, through one of the parents in her classroom. And she would come out and she would talk to me. She would bring me some lunch that she had left over from her customer lunches. And she would say, "Oh, I know you can do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's not for me. I wanted to be a teacher my entire life. I wanted to teach people." And she's like, "But I know you can do it." And, I got connected through, had several interviews. I failed a lot. My GSK was not the first company I interviewed with. I interviewed with other companies, and that background doesn't really stand out for a lot of people. And eventually, I met someone who was looking to hire diverse talent, who saw something in me and decided to take a chance. And it was a risk, but once I got here, I did not want to let that leader down. And that leader also, once I got here, I just wanted to do sales, wanted to learn everything about that and stay there forever. But in 2 years into it, my manager was like, "Nope, time to go," and kept pushing until I, said, "Okay, well, I'll go and learn how we train people." So I did some little rotations in training, got some opportunities at the regional level. And then, after 9 years of sales in different divisions and different products, I got a wonderful opportunity to go in-house to work on our flu franchise. And that kickstarted my headquarters career. I learned a lot. I listened. And I think that's one of the things that kept me around, is that I knew I didn't know what everyone else knew. So I listened, I learned, I wanted to be a sponge in every opportunity. And, I provided value, just continuing on. I know that's a long roundabout way to get to where I am, but that was it.
I think that's excellent. That's that HBCU resiliency. So Kimberly, thank you for being one of our panelists and sharing your experiences. So I'm going to introduce our next panelist, who is Stacey Harris, and then we'll go into our panel discussion. And we're running a little bit behind on time. So Stacey, I'm gonna hand it over to you. And then once we get to the panel discussion, I'm gonna start looking for live Q&A questions as soon as possible to ask to the GSK team. So Stacey, if you're ready, let me go ahead and introduce you by your title, which is VP of US Marketing, Pain, RX to OTC Switch. So Stacey, if you're ready.
I am. Hello, everybody. And I am so proud to be here to talk to all of you. So just a little bit about me. I have been with GSK for 15 years, but I am also very proud to say that I am what I would say is a double historically Black college student and graduate, where I came from. My undergrad was North Carolina Central University, and proud that I have my MBA from Clark Atlanta University. And I'm going to talk to you guys about our consumer healthcare division. And like my colleagues, I am so proud of the work that we do here at GSK, because we do seek to improve people's lives. Now, when thinking about consumer healthcare, these are the products, and you can go to the next slide and the next one. So you see all these brands. These are the products that a lot of you, I hope and pray, are very familiar with and buy every day. These products, some you're not going to be familiar with, but a lot of them you should be familiar with, like a Tums, a Sensodyne, Theraflu. These are the types of brands that the consumer healthcare portfolio has. We are #1 leading brands in over-the-counter medication for pain relief, vitamins, respiratory, and therapeutic oral health. These are the brands that help people in their day-to-day lives, free them from pain, help make sure that they have the right nutrients with our vitamins business. And something that a lot of people might not think a lot about is Tums, because people love food. We all love food. And a lot of food gives them heartburn. And so we have the products that enable them to enjoy that food, but not have the heartburn that can take away from that enjoyment. And most importantly, very proud of the recent RX to OTC switch. And what do I mean by that? A product that used to be available only from your doctor with a prescription, but it's now in your local stores, and that is Voltaren. And that enables people to have the joy of movement because it's a topical product that is for arthritis pain. So I'm really excited about all of the brands. And when you think, and you can go to the next slide, and when you think about all of the brands, we are everywhere in the world, and we are leading brands everywhere in the world. Our leadership is unparalleled by many, many of our competitors. We're number one in the United States as a consumer healthcare company. We're number one in Germany, India, number two in Russia and China. So we are truly a global consumer healthcare organization that enables people to do the things they love, treat some of those aches and pains, colds with the products that we offer. Now, how do we do this? You can go to the next slide. And the next slide. So we, like the pharma side of our business, we combine science and a deep understanding of our consumers. We spend a lot of time understanding what are the things that everyday people, whether it's anywhere in the world, what they need, what they're not getting, and how our products can help them live their lives better. And we do this because we work with science, we have deep insights, and we also work with experts so they can recommend our products to consumers every day. Next slide. We also focus on three core principles when we think about the consumer healthcare business. We are focused on innovation. We want to constantly look to innovate and bring new products to the market that help people every day. We focus on performance. We want to make sure that the products that we are bringing to the market, they are delivering the results. They're meeting consumer expectations, but reality, they're meeting business expectations. And last but not least, we want to ensure that we continue to build trust in not only our businesses, but in our consumers and our customers that we work with. And trust is very important. And some of the other things that we do, next slide, is we focus on 5 core attributes. And so when thinking about what are the qualities and what are the things that we look for in consumer healthcare, we look for people that have a growth mindset. We want to continue to grow our businesses, help more people, making sure that we're reaching everyone, from people who may be at a lower income to people who income is not an issue, people who are on the go, and people that are looking for products for their families. We want to make sure that people are agile and that we think about being agile in how we're working collectively together, but also how we're meeting the needs of our consumers. We want to be execution powerhouse. And what do I mean by that? We want to make sure that when we bring products to the market, they are delivered at the best, not only quality in everything we do, but delivered in the best way from our communications, from how they show up in store, from the packaging, and that it's very clear to consumers what the product is, the benefits that it offers, and making sure that we're surrounding them with information about these products all the time, no matter where they are, to help them with their lives. We're data-driven, digital data, it's at the core of everything we do. So those of you who are, very excited about the Google and Twitter and all of the Google, Twitter, and 1,000 other digital applications, that is embedded in everything we do every day. We are constantly looking to connect and engage with our consumers through the digital environment. And last but not least, the biggest thing that we are is consumer and customer obsessed. So when you're thinking about consumer healthcare, these are some of the core attributes that we live by and also that we look for in people when we're looking to hire. You can go to the next slide. And last but not least, everything we do is based on our values. As I said, consumer first, transparency, respect, integrity. We want people who are courageous to lean into new opportunities. We want people to be accountable, focus on development so that you can grow into new areas and new opportunities. And we focus on teamwork. One of the things that we truly believe in, and this is fundamental that I believe in, if I knew everything, if I had all the answers, I'd be sitting in the room by myself, but I don't. And we have teams of people that we work together because everybody has something unique and different and a different perspective and a different view to bring to the table. So teamwork is critical to how we work and how we progress. And last but not least, next, is diversity and inclusion. Within consumer healthcare, we have a tremendous opportunity to not only make sure that the products that we develop are reaching a very diverse audience, but we want to make sure that the people who are bringing the products to you are diverse and representative of the world in which we live. So we also want to make sure that people can bring their true selves to work. And we have operations where we give back to the community. We have a number of programs within consumer health where we're going out and doing programs, either it's with Save the Children, we have an initiative with Smile Train. We also do things at the local level where it's about making sure people have the right menstruation products because we know there's period poverty out there. So we really want to get involved in the community to make sure that we are not only providing products, but that we're giving back to the areas where we sell our goods. Next slide. So last but not least, we are actively looking for associate brand managers, and digital commerce performance marketing managers. So just a little bit about what that is. An associate brand manager is someone who is new into marketing. They have some experience, but not a lot. And they come into the organization, and it's people that may have some sales experience, may have marketing or worked for like an advertising agency. That's like how an associate brand manager could come in. A brand manager is someone who might be looking for a new opportunity. They've worked in brand management before, and they're like, you know what? I want a different experience. I want to work for a company that is helping people, that has products that are, really meaningful and can help improve people's lives every day. And then last but not least, we have our digital commerce performance managers. And these people are laser focused on digital, on making sure that how we go to market with the Amazon, with Walmart.com, Instacart, all of that is really laser focused, and people that have experience within digital is kind of what we're looking for within that digital commerce performance marketing manager. So I hope I helped everybody on time.
Excellent.
But that's a consumer healthcare overview.
Thanks, Stacey. So what I like to do now is invite all of our panelists to turn on their video. And I'll start, Stacey, since you're finishing up, I'll start with the first question for our panel discussion for you. And to our candidates, please drop your questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to pick up your questions from the chat and then ask them to the GSK team members who are on our panel for the time that we have left in the event. So if you got questions, drop those questions in the chat, and I'll do my best to ask them to the team. But my first question I'm going to pose to Stacey, and then I'll gladly take answers from anyone else. But Stacey, do you feel that your HBCU experience prepared you well for what you do today?
Oh my God. I feel that my HBCU experience prepared me for what I do every day in a way that is, it's based on resilience. It's based on you never have enough to do some of the things that you need to do. And my HBCU experience taught me how to look for new and different ways to attack a problem, new and different ways to get to the solutions that you need without always having everything that you need. Because sometimes, and when I say everything you need, just to put it in perspective, it could be we might not have all the money we need to execute a program. So we have to think about it differently. How do we meet and reach consumers that we want to deliver our messages to in new and different ways based on the money that we have? And so I think one of the things that I learned within an HBCU, and I think a lot of you can relate to it, they might not have everything, but they teach you how to deliver against your objectives. They teach you the skills of resilience. They teach you the skills of creativity. And I think that is a tremendous skill set that is unique to historically Black colleges. And I'm proud to be an HBCU grad. And I think those skills have served me well over the years.
Excellent. I'm sure those sentiments will be echoed by the rest of the team members. Deborah, let me ask this next question to you. And what would be your advice around what skills candidates should have to be successful at GSK?
Yeah, I think it depends on the role you want, right? So if you're looking for sales, you need that fire in the belly. You need to be able to give a convincing argument. You got to be able to really get someone to lean into your conversation and listen to you. So there's some skills that I think as a sales representative, you need to just be absolutely fantastic. If you're looking in marketing, I think marketing is the backbone of our organization, right? So yeah, if we can't market our products, we can't get them to their patients in a timely fashion for people to benefit. So if you're interested in marketing, I think you have to think from the customer back. You have to think from the patient back. So you have to have a broader scope. You have to go bigger than just your immediate remit. And I think those that do really well in marketing listen to everybody. Their customers, the patients, the sales reps that have to actually deliver their products. So I think if you're one of those people that is a fantastic listener, come on board. And I just want to be clear here. We are talking about marketing roles. We're talking about sales roles and the like, but I noticed that some folks have like molecular biology and chemistry and things like that, laboratory experience, and they're interesting roles and stuff like that. Listen, I just scrolled on GSK. I looked at our most current offering. I got tired after about 50 opportunities just for scientists, just in the Maryland area. So make sure you get on to our website and take a look. We just represent a small smattering of the opportunities that are available within GSK. Okay, so just because you don't hear from us doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Excellent. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, let me pose this next question to Anthony. And Anthony, do you feel that you can be yourself, culturally speaking, at work there at GSK?
Yeah. Really good question. I just, in any environment, I think the key part, especially think about the communities that we come from, it's really being able to build those trusting relationships really early on. And I can say that based on my experience at ViiV Healthcare as well as GSK, I've been able to do that. But the first thing I had to really take ownership in is really allowing others to come in to get to know a little bit about me. I can say early on in my development, I was very guarded about, engaging in individuals at a sales meeting. After the meeting was over at 5 o'clock, I would go back to my hotel room and just go in my area, check in with the family, watch TV. I didn't really build that networking relationship. And a lot of that was on me and basically my development and having leaders sharing with me, hey, you need to make sure you allow others to get to know AJ, right? Because that in itself is going to allow you to be even more authentic, but also is going to allow you to engage others and build that network. So I would say yes, but really I had to really start with myself around my own development and being secure in my abilities and my authentic self to really open up to others. So yes, it really starts with yourself first and foremost.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this next question, and what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get everyone involved, and then I'll start picking some of the questions from the chat that I'm seeing. But this next question is for Anton. So Anton, is mentoring a part of the company culture there at GSK, and how can new employees connect with a mentor once they are hired? And shout out to Deborah for offering to be a mentor.
So, and look, I know the fact that Deb has offered herself as a mentor to several people. I think she's led the way when I think about when I came into the organization, I remember, I don't know if Debbie remembers this, but she said, hey, you need to go get a mentor. And then once you get a mentor, go find another one. And I've always shared that information with others. Like, you know, sometimes we hold on to mentorship like it needs to be one person, and you just need to build this like one strong relationship, when the reality is there are great opportunities to network with several people within this organization, several different groups. I think I mentioned my involvement with the employee resource groups, Mosaic and the veterans group. Those are great opportunities to build networks, and then from there to establish mentors, to ask for mentors. And what I will say is that GSK absolutely has that environment where mentorship is actually encouraged. And I'll speak about one very specific mentorship program, which is very formal. So again, you can have informal mentors, you can have formal mentors, but one of the very formal mentorship programs that I've had the pleasure of participating in throughout my career at GSK is called the Diverse Reverse Mentor Program, where essentially GSK looks at those populations of people, diverse backgrounds, whether that be from an ethnic standpoint, whether it be from an age standpoint, whether it be from just anything that would probably be from a standpoint of diversity. We match you up with one of the senior leaders within the organization, and then that diverse person actually mentors that senior leader from a diverse reverse mentor standpoint. So one, what does that allow for? It allows that senior leader to get perspectives that they might quite honestly just not have.
Yep.
And they're hearing from it directly from one of our diverse members within the organization. And they get a chance to be mentored by a diverse individual. The second part of that, which is equally important, is that diverse person now has a connection. They now have somebody who's a senior leader within the organization who they know at a very intimate level and have talked about things that a lot of times you probably just wouldn't talk about over the water cooler, but they've now established that relationship that can help them further their career and development opportunities at GSK. So I say that just to say that there are a number of different programs at GSK that absolutely encourage mentorship, and we've got formal and informal programs to do such.
Awesome, awesome. So this next question is going to be for Kimberly. So Kimberly, are any of the products that the teams represented have developed solving or addressing challenges related to COVID-19? And then how has COVID-19 changed the way that employees of GSK go to work?
That was a very good question. Top of everyone's mind is COVID-19. So yes, GSK is very invested in COVID-19 prevention and treatment. So we have a couple of projects, even though you don't really see our names connected to any of the vaccines that are currently being marketed in the United States. We have a couple of projects that we're working on. The one thing about vaccines and other treatments is that there's always, multiple levels. So you have what we have currently dealing with the different variants that we have now, but we also have an opportunity for second generation vaccines. So you'll see our name in some partnerships in some of the second generation vaccines, but we're definitely committed to COVID. We developed or we spent and provided a lot of money towards other companies and their PPE, other countries, and their PPE, as well as, like I said, we have an approved therapeutic that's also been in the news. So we were committed to COVID treatment and COVID prevention. So you'll see our name out there, even though you may not be hearing it now. As far as how we do business, it's changed a lot, especially for our field force. Because a lot of people are sick, we don't have the access to our customers that we used to have. We're having to be creative and figure out ways to gain access or to continue access with our customers. We look different when we go to work now. When we show up to work now, half of my team wears scrubs. It's because it's easier to maintain and keep everything sanitized and clean. So that's been a change for us. And also because we're a healthcare company, GSK has taken the stance to now make sure that employees are as safe as possible. And so we've joined with other companies in asking for our employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19 as well. So I'm very proud of that, very proud of the work that we do in vaccines. It is impacting communities worldwide.
Excellent. So let me ask some questions from our candidates, and then, once we ask a few questions from our candidates, I want to jump into next steps, introducing Renee Wooten. So I'm going to ask our panelists, when you answer these questions, let's maybe make them rapid fire so I can get as many of them in as possible. Okay, so the first question I see is from Tangela Richardson, and it is about opportunities for folks with marketing and sales backgrounds that have lots of experience, like 18 plus years of experience. Is GSK hiring folks that have that level of experience in marketing and sales? And I think I'll default this one to Stacy.
So the answer is yes. We do hire people that have that high level of experience. Those roles are not as plentiful, but we do, and I would encourage you to apply. We will look at your resume and we will get back to you, but we definitely do have opportunities with people with a lot of experience.
Excellent. So this next question I'm going to pose to Deborah, and that is, are there scenarios at work where you have seen the benefit of GSK's diversity efforts?
Yeah, you know what? One of the first things that I just saw over this past year, as the rest of the world seemed to have gotten a conscience around social inequality, is GSK flew the Black Lives Matter flag. We're a British company and we flew the Black Lives Matter flag. So it's just a signal that our leadership is listening to us, listening to the needs and the pain that we all went through as African Americans over the course of last year. And the fact that they were willing to put that up, regardless of what customers say, regardless of what the government says, they were willing to fly that flag on our behalf, which is I thought it was a very powerful moment for the organization. We are a tight-knit organization, right? So we all know each other in the diverse community. We all help each other out in the diverse community. We all mentor each other, and that's important. I remember when I first stepped into this organization, I went 7 years without a mentor. 7 years. Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Make sure you get some mentors to help you. And that mentorship can come from any avenue. Some of my best mentors have been, actually, to the spirit of your question, Will, have been white men that have really just wrapped their arms around me and helped embrace me, et cetera. So your mentorship can come from anywhere, at least within GSK. And so what we encourage people to do within our organization, take full advantage of that, because people in our organization have come to embrace IND for what it's worth. It is a powerful motivator for business for the future.
Yeah, and Will, I'll just add to that, to Deborah's response. I mentioned on my slide the Inclusion and Diversity Activator Council that I'm co-leading. That particular council was created due to the horrific events surrounding George Floyd. As we know in the Black community, we were aware that things were happening, but it calls a conscious awareness for broader organizations that would have more awareness around this space. And that particular Inclusion and Diversity Council was born out of that. Now, the key part is now we have to take actions, but we also have to hold our organization accountable to pulling through the things that was committed based on some of the things that we're proposing. So a really good question. So thanks for asking that as well.
Excellent.
Hey, Will, I'll jump into real quick here, just to kind of continue the thread. I know we talked about, or I know I spoke about Mosaic, the employee resource group that's focused on African Americans within the company. One of our products is called Benlysta, and it focuses on the treatment of lupus. And if you I'm sure all of us are aware that disproportionately affects African Americans at a higher rate. Well, that business unit actually tapped into that Mosaic employee resource group for further insights on best ways to connect with that patient population. So if you think about real world application of having diverse people within your organization, it's having a group of folks that very much so look like the patient population you're trying to serve, and being able to go to them and get insights, real insights that actually help us to better meet the needs of those patients and the healthcare practitioners that treat those patients. So just another example about how you can leverage the diversity within a company and how GSK does just that.
Excellent. Excellent. For the sake of time, let me go ahead and thank you all for being our panelists. I'll give the final word to Deb at the end, but let me introduce Renee Wooten to talk about next steps, because I'm sure a lot of the folks that have joined us this evening are interested in how to land a job or an interview with GSK. So Renee, if you're ready. And let me make sure Renee has co-host permissions. So Renee, if you can unmute. I see Renee connected. Maybe Renee had to step away. But Renee, feel free to jump in at any minute, just to unmute yourself when you can. But as far as next steps, what I'll do is I'll make an attempt to speak to some of the roles that Renee was able to put together on this slide here. So as far as next steps, you'll be encouraged to follow the links that we'll actually send these links to you via email, so that you can actually follow those links and apply to opportunities with GSK directly on their website. But then also, we're going to encourage you to stay connected to GSK, and we'll also share these links where you can stay connected to GSK careers on their social media channels. But then I'm also going to encourage you, if you have not done so already, to submit your resume to us at HBCU Connect. And it's really simple. I'll drop the link in the chat so everyone can see it. But you basically just want to go to hbcuconnect.com/GSK. So I'll put the link here in the chat. And that's where you can submit your latest resume. And then we're going to share those resumes with Renee and her team to take a look at and to reach out to candidates that they feel might be a good fit for some of the opportunities. But also you can take action by following up on the links that we send you via email. So Renee, I see Renee jumping in. Let me make sure she can unmute. Renee.
And Will, just one thing while Renee's logging in, I would encourage everyone to look at the opportunities, but be courageous, be bold. You may not have all the skills, you may not have all the experience that is listed on the profiles, but I'm sure that there are more similarities of what you've done than are not. So make sure that you reach out, send your resumes in. We will look at them. We're excited about the opportunity to bring in more diverse talent into our total organization. And so we really look forward to each and every one of you taking time to, look at the opportunities, submit your resumes, because potentially there's more that we can bring to you about our opportunities, and maybe just opportunities to maybe help you build your resume a little bit better to speak to some of the opportunities.
Excellent.
Excellent feedback. Will, I am here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
My apologies, everyone. I think the gods to be found an opportunity to keep me quiet, and so I was shut out for a minute. But just to follow up, I am a diversity recruitment manager here at GSK. And as Will began this session, he pointed out that there are real roles that we're trying to fill. And that's the first thing that we'd like to stress to you. We've provided the links for opportunities. I do encourage you, because we are actively recruiting, that if you see a role that you're interested in being considered for, please apply within the next 48 hours. But even beyond that, if you make sure that Will has an up-to-date copy of your resume, he'll be sharing that out. And as Stacy indicated, the GSK team, we will be reviewing your resume and reaching out to you if you don't have an opportunity to reach out to us. A couple points when you go to the GSK website. I saw a lot of questions about locations. For example, I think there was an ask in regards to one of the marketing positions within the consumer area. That location will probably pop up as New Jersey. However, other opportunities, the actual location may shift and change as the positions become available. I want you to be aware, as pointed out from our respiratory rep, Anton, that there are multiple opportunities available. When you go to our website, you'll see that we've divided the roles based on the regions. And I did hear, I saw a number of individuals who were interested in that regional sales director role. Again, just want to reiterate that the recruiter was tweaking that posting. I got an email this evening saying that there would be a role up and live by tomorrow evening. The first location you will see will be for Boston, Massachusetts. That is not the only location. There will be multiple cities and opportunities. As Stacy mentioned, some of these roles are what we call pipelining roles. Therefore, we know that there are going to be multiple opportunities in multiple locations. So if you're interested, go ahead and apply. And in closing, as we wrap up this time, just again want to reiterate the comment made. Even if you're looking at a role and you only say hit 70% of the things instead of 95% of the ask, please go ahead and apply. And please make sure we have your resume. Give us an opportunity to evaluate your skills and background and reach out to you. Again, just take that chance. If you're interested, you don't have to tick every single box for the role to be considered. So. And again, really quickly, thank you all for joining us this evening. And again, I hope you take advantage with connecting with our panelists. They are obviously some of the best and the brightest that we have to offer here at GSK. And when someone with their level and the amount of responsibility they have offer to mentor you and guide you, it's just a fabulous opportunity. I'm sure you all realize that.
Thank you, Renee. Really
Thank you,
appreciate you sharing these opportunities. And for those of you guys that don't know, Renee actually helped forge the relationship with HBCU Connect and reached out to me to partner on this event. So thanks, Renee, for sharing these opportunities with our audience. And to our candidates, this is our chance. I want to do a group Photoshop, so a group photo shot. So if everybody who's comfortable with it, you don't have to do it if you're not prepared. But if you like to turn on your video feed and share your smiling face, I think we would like that so we can take a picture to remember this event and get you all excited about the opportunities to come. So if you want to turn on your video, I'll take a couple of screenshots, like I said, of your smiling faces. So everybody get ready to say cheese, which I'm sure is a motivation of a lot of our pharmaceutical sales reps.
It will. You might want to take down the PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah. Let me do that. Good idea. Stop sharing. Thanks, Reg. Reg is a Clark Atlanta graduate. I don't know, we've got Stacy.
And Phi Beta Sigma, amen.
All right, so if everybody wants to turn on their video feed, what I'm gonna have to do is unpin, remove the spotlight so we can see everyone. Bear with me. Remove spotlight. Remove spotlight. Remove spotlight. And one more. Okay, there we go. Move spotlight. Okay, so if everybody's ready, 3, 2, 1, everyone say cheese. Let me get the screenshot. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you and enjoy your evening. Look out for the email from me with those next steps. I will actually capture the links and I'll send those links over via email. Of course, send us your latest resume and we'll share those resumes with the team at GSK. So thank you for joining us. Without you all coming to these events would not be possible. So you are greatly appreciated. And to the GSK team as well for sharing your time. You know, I know it's after work hours for most of you. You are really appreciated. I'm sure our candidates appreciate that as well. So to the GSK team and to our candidates, HBCU Connect says thank you.
Thank you, Will, and thank you everyone for joining.